Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Whatnots review show, our weekly book club style podcast here at the Whatnots. We cover all sorts of different genres and mediums, so there is bound to be something for everyone. Feel free to dive in at whatever number you'd like. But this week, we are talking about Season 1 of My Hero Academia.
Yes.
My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined by Melissa Wilkinson.
Hello.
And for the first time on the review show, Alan Busbee.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what Melissa did. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello, indeed. Hello to everyone. Man, we've had a wild morning. We've had technical issues, all sorts of stuff. We're an hour late to when we're supposed to be recording. So right now we should be like finishing up our thoughts and stuff, but we're not. We're just starting. You guys don't know that because it's a podcast. You guys can listen to this whenever. But Alan, how are you? How's your weekend been?
I'm doing fantastic. I got to hang out with you yesterday on Saturday, and daylight savings hit today, and I had no idea, so I am completely unaffected by the spring forward. And it's Sunday, so I have to go back to work tomorrow. So maybe my weekend's not as nice as I thought.
Right. Yeah, I'm like nowadays not really affected by the like time changes because it just automatically updates on my phone. So my dad is sitting there like, don't forget to change your clock, and I was like, geez, I don't think I've done that in like
your dad should have called
years,
me.
maybe.
Honestly, I don't even think I've ever actually had to adjust a clock time.
Yeah,
Wow.
and one of the reasons we're starting later than usual is that I have an old-fashioned physical alarm clock. I don't use my phone, and I have to manually set it an hour forward, and I forgot to. So I realized 12 minutes before we were supposed to start recording that, no, I'm just still sitting here eating eggs. I didn't realize what time it was.
Does your phone battery actually last a lot longer because you just kind of kill it at night?
I don't know. I've always done that, so I don't have a constant to compare it to. I don't have a control group. I just turn my phone off at night. So I don't know. I feel like it should sleep like I sleep. So that's why I have an alarm clock.
Good night, phone. Good night, moon. Good night, cat.
I was gonna say the only thing you could test it to is like if you've had your phone for like a long time. If you have an iPhone, you can check the battery life to see what your phone's like natural battery life would be at now. Because as you use it, there's a way to check to actually see what your now max battery capacity is. Because obviously the more you use it, the obviously the lifespan of your battery shortens. So, but I'm wondering that like if you've had your phone, like I wonder if you had your phone for like 2, 3, 4 years and then you checked it, and it's like 95%. Like, oh my god, it works. You can make your phone.
Wow,
I don't know. I leave my phone
knows?
on all the time. My phone dies when I listen to YouTube all day at work, and my phone's like, "Hey, bro, I'm not gonna make it."
Anyways,
go on without
enough
me, bro.
about phone batteries and all that stuff. What is this, school? We're not talking about school, or are we? Let's see. Melissa.
Say the line. Say the line. Plus ultra.
There you go. That's what
Ultra.
we're gonna do. Charge up your phones and go plus ultra here this week because we are talking about My Hero Academia Season 1. Season 1. Yeah, we're not up to date on all of that show, but Alan, we invited you on. You haven't been on this show yet, but you co-host Crossplay, our video game podcast.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm on there. I talk about games sometimes.
Indeed, yeah. What have you been playing recently? Just real fast.
Well, I mean, I play Monster Hunter a lot, and I am slowly working on playing through Devil May Cry 5 to slowly work towards my platinum. I just finished the hardest difficulty, all S ranked, last night.
Nice.
Ooh.
That's right. Difficult. That's
it was hard.
Good stuff. For sure.
Felt very cathartic.
Well, welcome to the show. We are
Thank you.
glad to have you. And this week we asked you, since you are our special guest, what should we read or watch? And you were like, I know exactly what it is. It's going to be JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And then you were like, wait, no, My Hero Academia. Yeah. So here we are doing this. I have to give a shout out to Belinda Garcia. Because a long time ago, when we almost had her on the Whatnots as a permanent member, she was on the captain's log with me, in which I explained that I don't understand why people like My Hero Academia. I had watched season 1. I didn't understand why it was so popular. I mean, I do, but it didn't click for me. So I was just like, I don't get it. Like, why are people so in love with this thing? So this is my second time watching it. So the first thing I want to ask you, Ellen, is why is this one of your favorites, or why do you think this is such a good show without spoiling it?
Okay, so I'll give a little of a story on this because it's actually interesting too. So I never watched My Hero when it first aired either. I never watched it either when it first aired or anything. My girl's brother was a big My Hero fan when it like launched, and he watched it and everything else, and he would tell his friends and myself to watch it. But because My Hero kind of blew up to be this big popular thing, I was kind of a hater where I was like, no, I don't want to watch My Hero. It looks stupid. I don't like it. I think it looks dumb. I'm not going to watch it. And anytime I went to a comic shop to look at manga, and I'd see like the little cover art, like clip on the books, and I'd be like, ooh, this art looks awesome. And I pull the book out and it's My Hero, and I'm like, oh, no, never mind. I don't want to read it. So I had this dismissive attitude towards like, I'm not going to get into My Hero. I don't want to watch this show. And I mentioned this before to you, Kyle, but I watched all of Hunter x Hunter, and Amy wanted to watch My Hero. So I made a bet with her that if she watched Hunter x Hunter, I'd watch My Hero. And now My Hero is my second favorite anime. I love this anime. Just the dynamic of how much work goes into the anime and how there's such a cast of characters, but they're all likable in their own way, whether apparent at the beginning or not. I just love this. This show has a good job of making me bust a gut laughing, but also can hit me right in the feels at the same time.
There you go. Good stuff. Melissa, I'm assuming this is your first time watching this, since you're usually not a big anime watcher.
Not as much as the rest of you. A couple years ago, my brother James was getting into the show, and he showed me the first 2 episodes. I'm like, okay, I understand what this is. I understand how this is so popular. I see its charms. I don't know if it's for me. And part of that is that I've found as I got into my late 20s, and now that I'm 30, like I can't get into young adult high school stories as much. I just feel like I've reached a saturation point with that in my life. Maybe I'll get back into it in like a couple years, but high school anime in particular, I feel like I got kind of burned out on because there's so much of that people try to show to me. I'd really love an anime exclusively about adults. Just 30-year-olds in an office again, please.
It's out there.
Right. I'm going to find it. We're going to watch more Love is Hard for Otaku or something.
Well, it's because the high school trope is such a relatable demographic to most people, whether you're in high school or not. It's just such a target audience. That's why it's always set there.
That's why all the big movies are PG-13 instead of rated R, because it's like the audience is so much bigger.
People have clamored for more adult. Like, there's some adult anime out there that are more focused on adults. There's not enough of it. There's not enough.
Yeah. True.
Not enough.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like I want it to be adult toned. It's like I'd really like to be 30 years old and watch a character who's 30 years old.
So, but now that you've watched the entirety of season 1, what are your thoughts? Are your thoughts still the same? Did they change at all? What's up with that?
I like it. This show has a lot of perks to it. It's so complex. Like, it's almost overwhelmingly complex. I love all of the world building, but it's so much world building at once. It's a little overwhelming. I wish the show had existed when I was younger, when I was the same age as the kids in the show, when I could have related to them more. and when I feel like I had more mental space to take on this much information in such a short time. Like when I was a student, I could like study this show. I could like memorize all of these different characters better than I think I can now.
I will give you this. They don't do it in season 1, but I think they started in season 2 onward. Every single episode, when you see the character for the first time, it'll have like the little text of telling you their name and what their quirk name is. So trust me, if you ever forget season 2 onward, every single episode, you will never forget their quirk because it'll remind you every single shot.
That's kind of nice. And it's something they do in season 1, but they'll do it later on. Like you'll see one of the students for a while, and then it'll be like episode 10 where they get that spotlight moment where they get announced. Like this is their name and this is their power.
No, I mean like the main character, just as a quick example, like Deku. So like you'll see him in like an episode, and like the first shot you see him, it'll have like the little subtitle text of like Izuku Midoriya, quirk, his quirk name. And then like the next episode, you'll see Deku for the first time, and it'll say the same thing. It'll say Izuku Midoriya, then his quirk name. And it does that for every character the first shot of every episode. Like the first time you see him, it'll say it.
Oh, that might be too
much. So you'll never forget. Trust me, you'll never forget.
That's an interesting thing because they do that a lot in comics. Is the first time you see the character on the page, they will have, or in that issue, they'll have the like, this is Tony Stark, Iron Man. It's like, gee, thanks.
I'll never forget.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, so that's good. Yeah, so I have to admit, the first time I watched it, I didn't understand why it was so popular. Now I see it a lot clearer of like why this is popular. It makes a lot of sense. I have a lot of complicated feelings on this show, both good and bad. I think at the end of the day, the show is good. I would recommend it to a lot of people. It didn't click with me personally. And it's so complicated because I don't think the show is bad at all. It's a perfectly fine show. I also don't think there's things that truly make it a great show. though, but I know I'm in the minority with that, and I know everyone out there is like, what is wrong with you? I hate the show. The review show? What do they know? They know nothing, right?
0 stars.
Yeah, 0 stars. F.
Press F to pay respects.
Right. Yeah.
We're doing that for you at the end of this.
But hopefully I can give you guys some things to think about with this stuff, because I think this show, just the fact that it exists, is fascinating.
I just want to ask, is it the story or is it the characters that prevents you from like really jumping on board?
It's kind of everything. It's the story, the characters, the setting, the way they do the superhero tropes, the way that it's an anime. It's Japanese made, but it's Western style stuff. It's like there's this whole like hodgepodge of stuff, which we will get into when we get into spoilers and stuff like that. How about this? Let's do a brief synopsis, because that's what we typically do here at this point in the show. And then we'll get into housekeeping and spoilers after that. Okay. So
Alan, I have whenever you want. I have like some small fun facts that are cool about it, but whenever you want to get into that, I can do that as well.
We'll get into that with spoilers. Would you mind though doing a brief synopsis of season 1?
Oh man, because I'm so into it though, I feel like there's so much I got to go into. But
just like high level, like what is this show about? What happens? Who's the main character?
Well, I'll give you this. A really easy way to actually sum up kind of the premise of the show is this is pretty much an anime version of pretty much I want to say just Marvel, just the Marvel superhero thing, like an anime, Marvel for weebs, you know. So the basic premise is that they live in a world where I don't think it said how long ago people started to develop quirks, which are pretty much their superpower, and it became a thing where so many people started being born with this abnormality that the the abnormal became normal, where now 80% of the population has a superpower. And we follow the story of Izuku Midoriya, who was born to quirk parents, but never developed a quirk himself. And his lifelong goal is, he's pretty much a hero fanboy, and his goal is to attend the most prestigious hero school, UA, the My Hero Academia.
There you go. Yeah. So he wants to do that, but he can't really because he doesn't have a power, and so his dream is like maybe one day. And
he wants to be a hero with no quirk, but he's gonna work harder to become a hero without a quirk to prove that you can.
Exactly. However, the whole like show, I guess, hook is that the like big like Superman like hero All Might, he bequeaths his power to Deku, the main character. Yep. And he is like, here, you can have my power, and then he all of a sudden has this like super strength that he doesn't know how to control and do all that stuff, so he has to learn how to use that, and it's still too powerful for him that it like hurts him when he uses it, so he's still like trying to not use it and stuff like that. It's actually pretty interesting. But
yeah,
that's
a neat take on that,
kind of it.
Especially in that it's not the kind of super strength where he's scared he'll. Yeah, it's not like when Spider-Man first gets his spider powers and Tobey Maguire's like wrecking his room because he's like, why am I so strong now? I don't understand.
Abs.
It's like he's in a lot of danger of hurting himself.
Yes.
This like will overtake and destroy his body if he uses it.
But you see,
wrong.
but that's what makes Deku a great character, because the quirk is so strong for him. You respect Deku because he can't rely on the quirk like everybody else in the world can.
Yeah.
So Deku has to use his intelligence and his knowledge to be powerful. He uses that. He uses strategy, which makes it more impressive.
Exactly.
That's right.
And then it turns into Harry Potter. They're all at school, and they're right. No, they are at school, but then so there's all of that stuff with that. But we won't spoil that just yet. But I feel like that's a good synopsis of just like what season 1 is about there. So let's get on to a little bit of housekeeping. If you guys did not know, we have multiple shows here at The Whatnots. You guys can find out more information on our website, thewhatnots.com, as well as your favorite podcasting platform of choice. Just type in The Whatnots and all of our shows will pop up right there. If you like what we do, patreon.com/thewhatnots is where you can support us for as little as $1 a month, as Alan is pointing out. Which I don't know if you guys will see, because we normally have our animation thing that goes up right here, right now. But yeah,
just
you guys
throw the clip of it up. Throw the clip of it up.
There you go. Yeah. We also have a $3 tier with all kinds of exclusive content, and a big shout out to our Patreon supporters at the $5 tier. So thank you, Sam, for helping us out and supporting us for so long. We appreciate it and we love you a lot. So thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
We also have a Twitch page. We don't live stream this podcast on Twitch, but you guys can catch us on there Wednesday nights, Friday nights, and Sunday nights. Today is Sunday when we are recording this, and I am in fact going to be starting a playthrough of Breath of the Wild. I've played most of it before, but I've never actually beaten it. So I am starting from square one, and I am going to on Sunday nights be playing that game.
Nice.
So be on the lookout for all of that stuff. You guys can support us on Twitch and subscribe to our channel, which is twitch.tv/thewhatnots. Tier 1 subscription is about $4.99 a month, but if you have Amazon Prime, you also have Twitch Prime. All you have to do is link your accounts, which is super simple, and you can give away a free subscription to a streamer of your choice. We would love that to be us here at The Whatnots, because it does not cost you a thing, and it's free money for us, which then means we can build bigger and better shows for you down the road.
And it means we can be plus ultra.
We can be plus ultra. Indeed. So yeah, that's about it for housekeeping. So let us get into spoilers. Hey, here we are. Spoiler territory.
We're still here.
We're still here. You might not be, because maybe you didn't see the show, so you're leaving the podcast right now to go watch it and then come back. And we're still here. We've been waiting this entire time. It took you a month.
We're in stasis. We've been floating in a tube of goo, waiting for you to return.
Floating in the ether.
It's been a month. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You just float through the ether for God knows how long till somebody finds us for spoilers.
Anyways, Alan,
Kyle,
what do you want to talk about first? What stands out to you about the show? Is there something that you're just like, oh man, I gotta talk about this one thing?
Well, okay, I wanna throw a couple things at you because there's one thing Melissa mentioned that I thought was interesting. She mentioned specifically that she wishes she was younger, and you mentioned that you kind of wish this anime was made around like the 2004 era, right?
Yeah.
So a fun fact is that the company that makes the animation, Bone Studio, it's actually funny because they're very well known for actually doing the anime for Full Metal Alchemist 2003 and Brotherhood from 2009.
Yeah, good stuff.
Okay.
So like if you've seen any of their other previous work, like they did cool stuff like they like, because I think Kyle will know it, like they did Soul Eater, like they worked on a lot of
Soul Eater's good too.
Pretty big title animes. So Bones has a pretty good repertoire behind them for anime they worked on. So just a cool fun fact. And then Kyle, you didn't watch the dub, you watched it sub, so this isn't for you. But Melissa, did you ever watch Dragon Ball Z?
I have seen some Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, I was alive, in the Toonami age. Dragon Ball Z happened in front of me.
The voice actor, Kyle, that voices the English All Might is Christopher Sabat. It's Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
That's right. All Might is Vegeta. That's why when you were like, I watched it subbed, I'm like, oh no, he didn't get to experience it.
Kakarot. Yeah, no, I
think it's a pretty good dub.
Yeah, the dub is really good.
Yeah, I like Deku's voice in particular because he's got this like kind of nervous warble to his voice, and it took me several episodes before I'm like, who does this remind me of? Who does he sound like? He sounds like a real toned down Morty. Like he's in that same vocal range of like, I don't know how to get out of this problem.
That I could see that.
I just want to be a hero.
It's so before I mention the thing that we should talk about first for spoilers is Amy's brother John, who hounded me to get into My Hero. He's still a big fan of it, but he complains that Deku cries too much.
He's a big crybaby.
I think he cries an appropriate amount.
That Deku cries too much.
I mean, look, there's nothing wrong with crying and being emotional in those moments.
Yep.
But yeah, that is also one of my complaints of the show, that he's such a crybaby the entire season. And
it's funny.
I'm okay
funny
with that, but they do it so much that it's just like, I get it. He's a crybaby.
It's funny because All My even references that, where he even tells Deku, "Hey, stop being a crybaby."
Yeah,
I liked it. I liked how earnest he was, how rightfully scared he was about all of these things, and I think the show was. I like when they would go into like his mutter stages.
Yeah,
where like the word mutter just like floats around his head when he gets really into like over analyzing everything, worrying about everything. I think the show was aware of what it was doing. Now, if he keeps crying this much as the show goes on, and as he does get more used to his power, then it might start to bug me. But in the context he's in this first season, I get it. I get where he's at.
This is the only thing I'll really mention of other seasons is Deku does not cry as often. He still does cry in later seasons, but he does cry during, admittedly, very emotional moments that make sense to be emotional in.
Yeah.
He does cry a lot in season 1, but I feel like that works because Deku is 15. He grew up his whole life just being quirkless in this world where everyone, like pretty much everyone has a quirk, and he has been told by Bakugo and other people, like, I'm sorry, you're a loser and everything else. Like, Deku crying makes a lot of sense. So I don't hold it against him because it makes sense that this is all very overwhelming to him.
Yeah, that's so. I think one of my big complaints is that this show ends up using technique, like storytelling techniques, more than it should. There's so. If I was a painter or a sculptor or something, I might have a certain tool or a certain technique to help me get across a certain point, or to like, hey, if I do it this one way, it makes it more emotional, or it makes you feel this certain way, or it does this certain thing. It achieves a certain goal.
Yeah.
And those tools and techniques are wonderful, but then when you overuse them, it gets to be this thing that's just like, I get it. Like, this is a lot. I'm supposed to be overwhelmed here. Cool. Or like, oh, that's supposed to be cute. And then it's like, okay, you're still doing that thing. I get it. It's cute. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think this show does that way too much. All of the like art style changes when they have some like emotional face and they're shocked or sad or something, or Deku just being like, I don't know, don't hurt me, I just want to be a hero. It's just like, we get it. Like, you don't need to do it that much. But like,
wow.
like so you mentioned Full Metal Alchemist. I think they do a perfect job in those shows of using that balance, because there are those scenes when they're like, you're the Full Metal Alchemist? I didn't know you were so big. And he's like, no, I'm the younger brother. This guy's the Full Metal Alchemist. Yeah. And he's like, what, this pipsqueak? And he's like, don't call me a pipsqueak, right? And then
but even in Full Metal, they overuse that, and they overuse the humor in Full Metal as well.
I disagree strongly, because that show has a good mix of the really sad emotional moments that will rip your guts out and make you cry, then the real light-hearted stuff of like, I hate milk, and like, I am not a shrimp, don't call me a shrimp, and then this like the art style changes and they get all cutesy or stuff like that, and it's a good mix of that stuff. Whereas this, I feel like, it's a little too heavy-handed with that stuff.
And so. Melissa, what are your thoughts? Because Kyle and I are on opposite ends of how we feel about Deku's emotions. Curious how you take all of it.
Last thing,
I liked him.
I don't mean to say I don't want him showing emotions and stuff. I like that. He deserves to have those things and those moments. It's just a little too heavy-handed.
Yeah.
With them.
Okay.
Yeah, the show is a little melodramatic at times, but I think there's a lot of times when it's very appropriately dramatic. I thought Deku was a very compelling protagonist. I liked this take on a superhero world where the ratio is flipped, and like you said, 80% of people have a superpower, even if it's something very minor. Like, his mom can make small objects float a couple feet. You know, she just uses it to get the salt from the other end of the table. Like, she's not a hero. She's got this physical capability that not everybody else has. And we don't see his dad. I don't know where his dad is. Well, I think she mentions that his dad
his father has the power to breathe fire, but in typical anime fashion, Deku's father is not seen. Because anime protagonists don't have a father, right? Like, they have a father, but they're not around.
I gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get to have two parents.
Yeah.
But yeah, he grew up waiting for him to like get a power that he was certain would develop. You know, it seems like around 5 or 6, and is when most kids get it.
The latest of 4. Amy looked this up. The latest age they can develop is 4. They can develop it earlier, or they can be born with it, but they develop it at the latest of 4.
Wow. So he's this little kid waiting to get this superpower, and he doesn't get it. And his mom takes him to the doctor to even like make sure, like, is it something like we can't tell that's not apparent? Can you tell that he has a power medically? Can you run some tests? And the doctor, I love the character animation in the show because they're talking to this doctor, this guy who's on screen so briefly, and he's like slouched back in his chair. He's his hands like folded this really interesting, like asymmetrical way. Like they took a lot of care into portraying this doctor and how he's like so checked out.
Yep.
He's like, yeah, no, he doesn't have a quirk. Yeah, like there's something in the toe bones that we can use to tell if somebody's gonna have a quirk or not. He doesn't.
Well, because
and like he has no emotional connection to Deku at all.
Well, because there's that.
It's like, nah, sorry, ma'am.
There's that great scene where Deku's watching the video of All Might for like the 1,000th time, and he's super excited. He's like, I can't wait for my quirk, and then it cuts to the doctor like, forget about it, and then just the shock of.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that this major moment of trauma in his life is him crying to his mom saying, can I still be a hero if I don't have a quirk? And his mom starts crying and says, I'm sorry, I wish things could be different. And he grew up like saying, that's not what that's not what I wanted you to say, Mom. I wanted you to say yes. I wanted you to support me. And instead his mom was supported him so much that she like broke down like, oh no, this isn't the life I wanted for my boy. Like he wants to be a hero. I want him to be a hero. And I like that he grew up so affected by this moment that wasn't anything bad. It was he's a great mom. His mom's so sweet every time she shows up.
Oh yeah.
But somebody just said the wrong thing to him and he's like internalized that and he spent his whole life trying to prove that wrong. And his mom, you know, when he does get the powers, like, Deku, I said this thing to you once. I'm sorry I said it. That wasn't the right thing to say. It's great that you have this power, but I should have told you, even if you don't have this power, you can be a hero. I liked that we had such a simple human form of troubling past for this character.
Well, yeah, so
it wasn't like he doesn't have a tragic backstory. He just has like an unfortunate, awkward backstory.
Well,
but that does just as much to compel him to becoming such a passionate hero.
Well, that's why I think episode 1 does such a great job because little kid Deku is so energetic and he's so happy that you can't help but feel the enthusiasm because if there's any point in your life where you've been super excited about anything, you can relate to how passionate Deku is and the fact that his dream of his entire life was shattered in an instant and people at school made fun of him. Bakugo treats him like crap. His mom didn't say the right thing. And the only thing that he held on to was his admiration for All Might. And the one person who told him, you can be a hero, you have it, is All Might himself.
Yeah.
So it's that wave where you feel excited for Deku. You feel shattered like Deku. And then when he's crying and emotional at the end where it finally hits him, you feel that sense of happiness because you feel emotional like Deku because he finally was believed in when no one else did.
Yes.
Because there's that very awkward moment where Bakugo literally told Deku to kill himself, which was really awkward in the anime. But yeah, so to switch off Deku, like, what did you guys think of the cast? Like, not everybody, but like, who were some standouts for good and bad reasons? Like, who did you really like? Who did you really dislike? Besides Deku.
I liked the ice dude, the half hot, half cold, or whatever his name was. Todoroki. Yeah, he seemed really cool. I liked him a lot. Like I liked him, and then the girl that was like super smart after they did the the one that was like, oh, this is why this team won because he did this and they didn't do that thing and this thing. I was like, she's smart. I like her. I want her on my team. And I guess her power is creation, where she can just make things, which is neat.
And ripped her clothes too, which fan service moment. There you go.
Yeah, there is that.
I like the twist on her power that she can make anything that she understands the molecular structure of. Yep. So she has to be super smart and well researched to use this innate physical power.
Yeah. For Kyle,
those I think were my favorites.
Anyone that you stood out that you just really hated when they were around or you just didn't care for?
The only one so far, I don't care for the class rep.
Oh,
I just
Ida?
don't like him. Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah,
he's my
dude,
favorite.
Ida's the best, dude.
He's just So don't sit on the desk. I'm like, you're a fucking dork. Go away. Like,
that's why I love him. I love that he's a dork who takes everything so seriously, but he's not mean. He's just stern and that like, no,
and
we
he does
should be respectful. We should be polite. We should be well behaved. Like I like that he's from this background of being like the top heroes in the city, and like, you know, through being these heroes, his family's gotten some wealth, but he's like not snobby. He's not uptight. He's just like, I take this seriously. Yep. I want to do a good job. I have a responsibility to do a good job. All of us do. And he's just trying to corral all these teens into like being upstanding citizens.
Like in the assembly thing where he yells at Deku, where it's like, and you've been muttering this whole time.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
He's the kind of character that I want to be mean to, but I can't because he's just so sincere and he's so nice, and I'm just like, damn it. Like, I honestly don't like you, but you're a good guy, man. Like,
yeah.
So Melissa, you like Ida. Anyone else that stood up for you that you liked, and then who didn't you care for?
I love Sue. I love the frog girl.
That's right.
I love that her quirk is just frog. She could just do what a frog does. She sounds like a frog.
Yeah, you like the announcement where it's like, her quirk, frog. She does what a frog does. That's it.
Right. I also love that they have an announcer. Like, there's like a weird DJ who's one of the faculty at their school and does faculty things. He's not purely a DJ. He also like teaches or something. Yep. But he's also this over-the-top, like, super dressed-up DJ who announces every student. It's so strange.
It's so great,
he's like, yeah, I'm the DJ that you have. Of course. We all know this. You have to have a DJ.
Remember, Deku listens to his podcast. He listens to his show. Yeah. He listens to his show.
That's funny.
Who didn't you care for? Who were you?
I don't think there were characters I really disliked. I think like the sticky balls kid,
Mineta.
I wasn't super into how boob obsessed he was. I wish he was a little less perverted, though I understand that may come with the anime territory in
boobs
certain
are nice.
regards.
I mean,
Mineta. They are nice.
But
yes.
Yeah, it's a little bit much.
Don't you like that scene where
but I liked
where he grabs Sue's boob at the end when he saves her, and it cuts to her drowning him.
Right, I do like that she drowns him and like says nothing, shoves his head under the water in the pool, and then turns around and starts talking to Deku. Absolutely,
just super chill.
React otherwise.
Wow,
I liked other parts of his character, like how he's like, yeah, I've got a weird power. I don't know what you want me to do with it, and now he's just like really scared. Like he felt like a very normal kid. Otherwise, he's like, oh, like my head makes sticky balls. I don't really understand what they are. If I pull one off, then it regenerates. If I do it too much, I bleed. like he doesn't say that it hurts.
He just bleeds.
Injures him. He just bleeds.
Yeah.
I think there weren't any characters I really disliked, but I think there were, because this is a class of 20 kids.
Yes.
And we see all 20 kids. There are not background sort of amorphous kids. Each of them is a specific character. Yep. And there's some of them who I feel like I just never took notice of, or like didn't get to spend a lot of time with, like whoever that guy is with like the red gears on his shoulders, who is like hanging around with like,
he has the red hair, right?
Yeah. There's him.
Axel from Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Got it memorized.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's a couple, I was telling Alan, there's a couple spiky haired boys in the class who like run together for me, because there's just a lot to take in with this show. And if I was 14 and like could get obsessed with this, and like I had time on my hands and I had like more mental capacity, I would know all of them.
I do because you are right. So yeah, it's the ones that run together in terms of hairstyle is Bakugo, Kirishima, the Axel guy, and then I actually forget his name. It's the electric power guy.
Yeah, Electric Boy. Yeah.
And then
they've got like other characters that we don't get to spend time with. Like there's like a flesh shark.
Kaminari.
There's like a guy who looks like a shark.
Kaminari.
Okay.
What's his name?
The invisible girl.
I thought it was
who all we get to see of her is her gloves.
That's
and then
that's all.
I
you get.
kept forgetting
That's
she
all
was
you get.
there.
That's all you get to see. So okay,
Which I guess is the point.
so
Yeah.
the one thing is like even with the spiky haired characters, the fact that they look similar, even if they do look somewhat similar, everyone does stand out though in their own way. Like even though those three have spiky hair, you still like once you learn their name, you still know that they're very identifiable by how they look. And yeah, there are a lot of characters that don't get a lot of screen time. Like see, I don't remember all their names because they're not the bigger players, but like the guy with all the arms.
Yeah.
The invisible girl. I have their names. I'm trying to remember. You don't actually see him. He doesn't actually have a name yet. It's the guy that kind of looks like almost looks like Patrick when he's in his pinhead form.
Yes.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah, I forget his name.
Wumbo.
These characters do get more development, but because season 1's only 13 episodes, it doesn't focus on everyone, but they're still there and they're around. They do get quite a bit more development throughout season 2 and especially in season 3.
Good.
You guys mentioned your characters. I'm a big fan of Deku. Deku's my favorite just because I feel he's so relatable emotionally and everything else that I just always love him. I really love it's the trio. I love Ida because Ida's just amazing, and I love Uraka, the zero gravity girl that Deku has a crush on.
Yes,
yep. I love her.
So sweet. I think she's great as a love interest.
Oh yeah, Uraka is amazing. I love the scene where Deku's at the school at UA, and he's like, "I'll take my first step," and then it cuts to, "I guess I'll die here," and she saves him.
Yeah.
Now, no one mentioned it. When I first watched My Hero, I could not stand Bakugo. I hated him.
He's a lot.
Not a big fan of him. He is a lot. I think he has a lot of potential though. He could go what's interesting about him is he could go so many different directions of like you could finally see him turn and start to be inspired by Deku and like actually turn out to be a good hero. He could still kind of have the attitude and be the like anti-hero. Like I want to do good, but I'm gonna do it with an attitude. You know,
they do a good job with Bakugo where he says, "I'll kill you," and people are like, "That's not very hero like."
Yeah, or he could absolutely
I like that his
turn out to be a
classmates
villain, right? And it's just like.
Right, and his classmates have him clocked immediately, like, oh, we know that you are a problem.
Yep.
Like, you're still one of our peers. We're going to work with you. We want to like you. We are all aware you have an anger issue, and you're going to need to get it under control.
So just starting season 4 on Hulu, seeing not spoiling anything, but like seeing a Bakugo's character throughout season 2 and season 3, going back and rewatching season 1. Bakugo is still a lot in season 1 because he's at his I'd say his most angry, like his irrational anger. But because of how Bakugo develops, I started to understand how he was, and I actually did not dislike him after rewatching season 1 by seeing the later seasons. So and like Kyle, you mentioned Todoroki, not spoiling anything else, but like Todoroki, he's really focused on in season 2. So if you really like him, season 2 will be right for you because Todoroki is a bigger focal point in season 2.
Nice.
So yeah,
I want to talk about something in the art. Speaking of characters, we haven't really mentioned All Might yet.
Yes.
So here's something else that I don't really like about the show. I don't like the way All Might looks. And I'm not saying that in a, like, I don't like his costume or something. But again, they're doing something very particular with his artwork, whereas he is in heavy shadow. Like, the deep blacks are there all the time. And if, like, in Western style comics, when we had that art style very prevalent, that was in the like 90s and stuff like that, where it was these like really, really deep blacks where there's supposed to be shadow, but there really shouldn't be that much shadow. And it's just like, how is this?
Yeah.
But what it does is it creates this really harsh, like these harsh lines and these harsh shapes and stuff like that. and it doesn't read as heroic. It does not read as the like, I am the symbol of peace and hope. It seems more sinister, which might be a way that the show is going. Who knows? But like it is something that's like, oh, and then he shows up and he's saving people and he's smiling, and then they show him and they're just like, that guy looks evil. And I'm just like, there's something wrong here. Like there's something up.
I understand.
With that.
Yeah, I really,
understand what you're talking about.
I really get
it,
but I never thought it that way.
Yeah, because like
what it read like to me is. You can go ahead.
I was just gonna say, think of Superman. Like when they show him in comics, like he's much like he's still built and he's still strict and stern when he's upset or needs to focus. But you rarely see him in that harsh shadow unless it's a story of like, Superman is evil. What do we do?
Yeah. Yes.
So it's just like, I don't know about this guy.
When I looked at all the shadows, it made me look at him as something mighty.
Yeah.
Something like a natural force or like a massive piece of architecture. Like he's like a skyscraper or a mountain or something. It makes him look mighty and it makes him look strong. Like he's this thing that like light bends around in a different way. Like he's that powerful. Like he's that commanding. And for me, that was a compliment to how withered and weak he is when he can't sustain that form. Like it didn't read as a sign of malevolence to me. It read to me as a sign of this like implacable, like resolved strength, like something that could not be broken.
Yeah.
It's, to defeat All Might would be like to defeat a mountain.
So
which
yeah, I'm with
not
Melissa
that big
because
a deal.
I never saw All Might as malevolent. I'm with Melissa where like when you look at how All Might in his muscle form is drawn versus everyone else, All Might looks radically different because he's the thing that
so cut,
stops everything. Like when the USA is being attacked, everyone is scared out of their minds. But when All Might shows up, besides Deku knowing the secret, everyone else is like, "Oh, we're fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
All Might will handle it. We're fine." Because you see All Might, you see these muscles and these lines, and you're like, "Yeah, this shit's going down."
I think you guys are both right. He is drawn differently, and I like that they're doing that. Again, it's just one of those things of like, it's a little too much. It's a little heavy-handed. So, like you can still get that same effect while not having as harsh shadows, and you can still be like, whoa, he's different. Like light goes around him differently, but it's so harsh that when he smiles, it's just like, this guy looks evil.
I love how All Might looks. I love it. I love how he looks. I'll give you this. So reading the manga, I'll give you this. There's a supplement part where the creator talks about the characters, and it says, so Kyle, you mentioned the eyes, right? So it says this: the whites of his eyes are all black when in his true form, skinny. He's so gaunt that they're perpetually in shadow. Only his pupils glisten, reflecting the true strength and dignity of the symbol of peace. Aww. It's like everything that his muscle form represents is condensed into those pupils. But I'm really not good enough. I'm really not a good enough artist to properly express that, and I'm sorry.
Interesting.
Oh.
So yeah, I don't know if that like puts more perspective in like maybe that's why All Might's not like he works but not quite clicking with you. Like that could be a reason why.
Yeah, like I mean, like back in the 90s in Western comics when that art style was very prevalent, it didn't necessarily mean things were evil or sinister, right? But it was this art style that made things look edgy and cool and like, oh, this is some sick artwork. But unfortunately, you also got like sick artwork and then a lot less story. And so it was just like these cardboard cutout characters, which I don't think we have here in All Might's case. Like, I really do think it is meant to be this, like, look how ripped he is, look how different he is. Like, he's so he's so strong or mighty or just completely on another level compared to everyone else that it is so dramatic.
Yeah.
Where I think it's that, but it's we don't know, because there's this whole mystery of like, okay, so he has a quirk, but he has the ability to pass it on, which is interesting. There's a mystery going on there. We haven't really explored that yet. And so with like that mixed with this art style, I'm like, okay, I don't trust you, but we're like, I'm just gonna be cautiously optimistic that you're a good guy and you really do want the best here, but I'm being cautious just in case.
And Melissa already mentioned it. I do love the stark contrast where All Might is very boastful, he's loud, and he's super energetic. But then the second he reverts to his true form, the skinny version, he's kind of more nonchalant. He's not as high energy. He's kind of like, yeah, this is me.
With Jareds when he's his like emaciated self.
I love the contrast. I also like sometimes how he's like, I love the constant like, I am here, or like when he does the training course thing where they do the mock battle. I love how because Aizawa, their other teacher, they have their homeroom teacher, Aizawa. I love how Aizawa is so serious and kind of dreary.
Yes.
But then when All Might busts through the door, it's, I am here to teach.
Dreary.
Yeah, he's the Batman to his Superman.
Would you? So we didn't see too many teachers. The only real teacher we saw excessively was Aizawa. What'd you think of him?
I liked him a lot.
I liked him a lot. There's something about his character design that felt really familiar to me. Like, I don't know if there's another character in anime that he looks like, or if like one time I followed somebody on Tumblr who was super into drawing him and I didn't know who he was and I had no context. But looking at him, like, I had such deja vu. Like, I've seen you before. Why do I feel like I know you? I like his character. I think he's a great example of how this show balances its tone. I don't know if it even is super well balanced, but it's got these two areas that it's playing with where it's so silly. A lot of the powers these kids have are very silly. We talked about the kid who just pulls sticky balls off of his head and he doesn't know what they are, and then they're replaced with more balls. And he's in a scene with a frog girl. Like, it's preposterous, but there's also this undercurrent of how much harm powers can do, even if they are very silly.
Yeah.
And that's what he does. Like, he takes the kids out. Day one, it's like, we're gonna do like a track and field day. Try as hard as you possibly can so that you know what it is that you can do and you're aware of what your top limit is so that you don't push yourself too hard and that you don't hurt somebody. Like, if you know you can throw something thousands and thousands of feet, be careful if you need to throw something in the future so you don't hurt anybody.
Yep.
This whole show is like so aware of danger and so preposterous and like outside of any human realm at the same time.
You know who he looks like?
Who?
He looks like Vincent from the Cowboy Bebop movie. The like villain from that.
He has the like Cowboy Bebop movie.
Dark
I don't know, that looks
hair. He just like that scraggly hair. Go look him up. I just typed in Cowboy Bebop movie villain because I didn't remember his name, and he popped up right there.
I do truly like what Melissa said about the powers. Like, I like how Aizawa himself has, I feel like, such a simple quirk of like, eraser. Yes. But when they're at USJ and he's fighting, it's so cool. It's so well designed how Aizawa just has the goggles to hide his eyes. And you're like, man, why does he look so sad? But it's his power that does it to him, that his power that you don't always see adds to his character design. And I also love the scene of Aizawa fighting everybody off. I love Aizawa.
He's great. When he's first introduced, he's got this very long scarf that he wears around his neck, and it said that his name is Eraserhead. Yep. And the show has already been so ridiculous that I'm like, oh, his neck has been erased. Like, he doesn't have a neck. Like, he's gonna take that scarf off. It's gonna be like that whole
floating head.
Tail with the green ribbon. Right, he's just a floating head, and I don't know how that means anything for his superpowers. But I'm certain, I'm like, that's got to be the level the show is playing at. You have a character whose head just isn't attached to his body.
I truly feel like the story of the anime gets better, but like the the strongest part of this entire show is its cast itself. Like,
yes.
Like, even if you look at it, like, my favorite thing about it is I love watching episodes, seeing characters interact and goof off and have fun. Like, the class just, like, you get that cool contrast where Uraka shows up and she sees Deku and she's like, hey, it's Falling Boy. And it's the whole laughing thing and they're joking around. Bakugo's angry looking at Deku. And then you have that contrast of Aizawa being like, oh, it took you 8 seconds to be quiet. Can we get started now? And they go outside and it's that serious thing of like,
you were there the whole time. He's in his like zipped up sleeping.
God, I love that he just lives in
Sleep.
his sleeping bag. Such a disaster. Why? He has no sense of self-care. Who is this man? What does he do outside of working hours?
Well, remember when they're
when
they're trying to decide class president, what's Aizawa do? He goes in the sleeping bag, like, make it quick.
Yeah, you guys do it. Like he really cares about some things and doesn't care about other things. Every character feels very rich. Like, this is why I was okay with Bakugo's characterization, because like I know there's something coming for him.
Yeah.
Like how you mentioned his potential, and like I know this kid has something in his past that we are going to get to that may not validate his behavior, but will explain it. Well, like, we're going to see the full picture of this guy at some point. And I know right now what I'm seeing is just like, you know, one context of like 1 10-month period in his teenage years and all those flashbacks to when he was a kid. He's always been a jerk. But like, I know there's going to be something that like adds to this, adds dimension to this. Like, every character feels like they have dimension, or they have a spot where dimension very clearly will be added next season or the season after that.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Indeed.
See, yeah, Bakugo's character is so fantastic. Like now, like I said, watching later seasons, like now when I see Bakugo angry, it still doesn't quite justify why he's angry, but it makes a lot more sense. And I'm like, I get it. Like, I get why you're like this. Because even from the mock battle, you understand that like one of Bakugo's problems is he feels like Deku has lied to him his entire life about having a quirk.
Yes.
And even when Deku tries to tell him, Deku says it wrong and he's like, I'm going to beat you. So they don't even quite work out their issues they have with each other. So it's, oh man.
Yeah, I liked how the show threw characters together in different ways. I like that we have that battle scene. That battle task where they have to like, they're split into 2 teams. You know, they have to go and infiltrate this building, and like one character's playing a villain team and we have a hero team. And we put the main character against his main rival, teamed up with his love interest. Like, we get that important characterization. And then the next big battle scenario, when they're in the unforeseen situation joint, and they're like, that also stands for Universal Studios Japan.
Yep, Universal Studios Japan.
That joke.
USJ.
I like that he's with just side characters who we've never seen before. I mean, we've seen them, but like we know what their powers are. You know, we've seen them in the roll call of the fellow peers, but like they're not really friends with Deku yet. And we see them thrown together with these side characters and they become friends. 20 students in the class might be too many. But I like that they keep getting jumbled up and thrown together in all these different combinations. And we can't really settle into, okay, we've got this 3-person protagonist team who's always together. And then there's an amorphous blob of other students. Like, no, they all get to be somebody. And we see all of them play off each other.
Well, that's the great part about USJ is because you see Deku, as you said, you see Deku with, you assume the main established heavy players. But then in the USJ attack, Deku never interacts with Ida. He never interacts with Uraka. He doesn't interact with Todoroki. He somewhat interacts with Bakugo, but not really. You get Bakugo with the red-haired character. You get Uraka with some of the other characters. And then you get Deku with Asui and, shockingly, Mineta, who you were like, oh, this pervert character who doesn't matter. They're given context by interacting with Deku to see how they all work. It's an earlier scene. The part that I love about Deku's character specifically is he has this quirk, but he can't use it. So when they think that they're going to get expelled by doing bad in the fitness test, it's that great part where Deku is going to throw a full power to break his arm, and Aizawa stops him and kind of yells at the opposite thing, where All Might just believes in him. And Aizawa's like, no, who are you going to help? you can't help anybody.
Yeah.
And it's that great contrast. And it's that amazing moment where Deku is like, he's depressed and he's like, how am I going to do this? I have to give it my all. And he does, but it's that great shot of he uses the tip of his finger to throw it. And it's that great moment where he clenches his hands and he's like, see, Aizawa, I'm still standing.
Yeah.
And it makes me just love Deku because it's like he can't use the power. So when All Might says, yeah, every person who wields this power makes it their own and improves upon it, Deku can't necessarily improve on its power. He can improve on its utility. And that's what I think makes Deku having the power very unique.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Good point, indeed.
Love it.
I want to talk about something else that I thought was really fascinating about this show. And this is kind of what I mean when I have complicated feelings on this show. I've mentioned a few of them, but what's interesting to me about this show is, number one, that it exists. We rarely get superhero stories coming from Japan, and if they are, they're not really in the mainstream. We don't really hear about them. They're not popular. Stuff like that. So the fact that this is a superhero story coming out of Japan is like, oh, what is this? Tell me more.
What are you doing over there?
Yeah, so I guess to help give some context to like post-war society here in the United States, we see the rise of superheroes. We see the reaction to the nuclear bomb be like, oh no, I fell in a vat of nuclear waste. Now I have superpowers and I fight for truth, justice, and the American way. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, we see Japan reacting with kaiju, of these giant monsters coming to attack and destroy their city. And even when they do more superhero-like stuff with their, I don't even know the right name. I think it's the like Super Sentai, like Power Rangers style stuff. Yeah. Like they have some superhero stuff like that, but then you also see them get into these big like mechas and megazords and stuff, and then they fight these giant monsters. Yeah, and the Sentai like that. Good.
The Sentai, as far as I know, like there's a whole world of Sentai like I've never encountered, but a lot of it is we use technology, we use devices, we use something like an alien gave us. I can't really name any Sentai who have innate biological superpowers that they were born with.
Yeah. Or you get like just kind of ghosts and supernatural kind of aspects as well. Or like things that like no matter what you do, you can't explain them.
Yeah. Or like think of Ultraman. His power is he gets big and he fights off giant monsters. Right? Like
Kyle, Mount Lady gets big too, okay? Come on.
I'm not saying he's the only one. I'm not saying
I know.
But yeah, so like it's a completely different response. And so when I see or hear that some Japanese superhero story has gotten popular, I'm fascinated and I want to know more. I think what disappointed me with this one is, at least in season one, the setting almost doesn't matter. This could be in New York. This could be in London.
Yeah.
It could be anywhere. So it's not uniquely Japanese, which it is like, well, if I wanted a story like this, I could just go read Marvel and do all of that stuff. On top of that, I don't think they're really doing much that's super tropes on top of that. We've seen the like super teens, we've seen the superhero school, we've seen them learning to control their powers, we've seen the like revolving door X-Men with there's 20 characters, we've seen the Batman Superman dynamic. Like we've seen most of this stuff, and so it acts as a great love letter to all of the Marvel comic stuff, which is what you said. And actually on the creator's Wikipedia page, it says that he is a fan of American superhero comics, specifically Marvel.
Well, and the creator's also a big fan of origin stories. That's why the first episode is Izuku Midoriya origin.
Yeah. And so like it's again, he's not doing a bad job. Like he's killing it. This is wonderful stuff. But I'm kind of disappointed that it's not something that I'm disappointed that it is so similar to the stuff that I already know. When they had this opportunity to be like, make this uniquely Japanese, make this something that I can only get in anime or a manga or something, and that I can't get in Western comics and stuff. So I think is my main thing of why I felt the show was just a little bit lackluster. Of like it's doing a good job, it's solid, but I've seen this a million times.
See, maybe that's where I'm different from you, because like as we've already mentioned before, like I haven't watched all the Marvel movies. Like in the West here, I'm actually not like the biggest fan of like the Marvel and DC movies. Like I don't watch the DC movies, and I don't watch a lot of the Marvel movies anyways. You don't need
to watch the DC ones.
Yeah, like I don't, there's like, as I mentioned before in another show, like there's so many Marvel movies I haven't watched, and the only real thing I watch is anime mostly, and any other anime that I've watched is none of them are like My Hero. Granted, My Hero is like Marvel over here, but since I don't read like the superhero comics, you know, like Kyle does, or watch all the Marvel movies like pretty much most everyone else over here does, My Hero, granted, it does similar things, but it feels unique to me because I'm not super on board with our Western content. So to me, My Hero feels uniquely its own. And even then, like even the Marvel movies I watched, I'm going to be honest, I don't care much for any of the characters. Like watching the Marvel movies, like, yeah, I like Ant-Man, he's funny, but like I don't really care for Captain America himself. I like the idea of Tony Stark, but I'm not like in love with his character. I like Spider-Man, but like I don't like anybody else. Like I don't care much for Doctor Strange. I don't care about all these other characters. So that's why for me, My Hero is great, because I watched the first season, and every character that it took its time of its 20 classmates to focus on, I found everyone it showed me, besides Bakugo, to be enjoyable and unique and likable that I don't have from the Marvel movies. Like, if I want to watch a movie that I enjoy, I watch Spider-Man because I love him, or Ant-Man because he's funny. But like My Hero, whoever they're focusing on, I enjoy them because they feel unique to themselves. And that's probably just only because I'm not deep into our own culture. So that's why it doesn't feel like, oh, I've seen this before. Not that that's wrong. That's just how we come at it differently. Yeah.
Totally.
Because while you read comics, I just read manga, and no other manga I've read is like this.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
So what about you, Melissa, for like anything you've experienced or anything else?
I agree with Kyle that this, I don't think it does anything revolutionary to the genre, except for that it is unique in its cultural background. Yeah. This is, we don't see this genre coming out of Japan a lot. And it is a loving homage to the world of superheroes. It doesn't do anything new, but it on a broad scale, but I like little choices that it made. I like how conscious and aware it is of the consequences of all these powers. It's really putting a lot of thought into it. And it's like funny, goofy, speculative thought where we have like really silly powers going on.
Yeah.
But we also have very dangerous consequences of these powers. Like one of the superheroes we see briefly, like living and fighting in the city at the beginning of the show, is Mount Lady, who's a woman who grows giant. And she only grows to that one size, it seems like. This isn't like an Ant-Man or a Wasp or a stature character where she can vary her sizes. She gets to one size. And there's this villain attack like in the middle of this crowded part of the city. And she like steps up, her giant form walks up and she's like, oh, I can't go any further. I need 2 lanes of traffic space to fit my foot in there. I don't have that space. If I take one step further, I'm going to crush a car. I'm going to damage property. Yeah. I could hurt somebody. I don't know if that's worth it. She's like, I'm sorry, I want to help, but I can't go further than this.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of, I like choices like that. Like it's the thought put into like this very fun, speculative, what if we could do anything we want with these superpowers thoughts, and what are the actual ramifications of what it is that these people are doing?
Yeah, because that's the other one I think of too. Like again, the common one is like Deku can't use his power, he breaks his body. Aizawa can't always use his power because it dries his eyes out. Like everyone, like people have such great powers, but they can't. Like Bakugo has an incredibly powerful quirk, but he's hot-headed and kind of aggressive. So his power could probably be better in someone else's hands, but it's in Bakugo's. So if Bakugo gets over his pride, that quirk could be unstoppable. So even if you have a great power, there is either some downside,
great
like
responsibility.
Like, yes.
Right?
Yeah, which is, I think, one of the major
fast,
tenets of the show.
Yeah.
It's about teaching the kids to be responsible with these powers that they have.
It does make you kind of wonder, though, like Bakugo with explosions in the hero course, but the one guy with the tail, he's also in the pro hero course.
What's the deal with the guy with the tail? Because I kept seeing him, but I don't know if there was a clear illustration of what he does, or if there was, and I just like wasn't paying attention.
He has a tail that he can control. That's it.
Okay.
He has a tail.
The way powers displayed themselves was fascinating, because like the characters had so many different physical oddities to the point where I'm like, are you a human? Are you a human whose quirk has like changed your human form so much, or are you a different type of being entirely?
So, Kyle, Melissa, since we talked a lot about this, the one thing I want to ask you is, I guess two things. Does this make you interested in watching a little bit of like, are you planning on watching more, or are you like, you know what, it's not for me, I'm going to jump off now?
You want to start?
I might watch some more. Like the show laid out a lot of stuff that's intriguing to me. And you sent us a link to where we can read the manga, and you sent us a couple pages that you thought illustrated something interesting. And I was struck by how similar this is to the manga. Yeah. It seems like it's a pretty close adaptation.
Yes.
And I thought how I might be able to absorb this story better if I could read it at my own pace and like really study and like sit down for a second. Like, okay, this is this guy. Say his name a couple times so you remember it. This is what he does.
Yep. Yeah, and honestly, from reading the manga chapters that cover season 1, it is almost exact. Like some lines are changed a little bit and everything else, but pretty much that's cool. It's damn near absolutely faithful to what happens.
Wow.
Kyle, what about you?
Personally, I don't think I'm going to continue on, but that's just me. Maybe one day down the road, I'll get back into it.
We'll review season 2. No, just kidding.
We could.
Yeah, I mean, I like that's the thing is I am a big comic book nerd, so I read a bunch of comics, and I just feel like there's better stuff out there. Or not even better stuff, but stuff that is just as good or does this exact same stuff for multiple characters and stuff like that.
So then with that, my only other addendum is, Kyle, since you think you'll jump off after season 1, what would you want out of season 2? That like, I mean, obviously the uniqueness. Like, what would you want season 2 to focus on specifically, to add or erase or something that would kind of jump you back in? What would you want from
one of my
season 2?
favorite things about this show has been them actually in classes and in these training exercises and stuff like that. Like, I like them actually learning things and having to deal with these situations. Like, I think the end narration at the end of season 1, when Deku's like, yeah, looking back, like the world of the pros, like we had no idea what we were getting into. Like, all of that stuff, I love it. Like, that stuff is wonderful, because I like them being presented with a challenge that they think they know because they're hot-headed, right? Or they think it's one thing because that makes logical sense, but then they have to learn to think about it differently. Like those kinds of challenges are fun. I think also them having to work together and learn, like, hey, you have this power. If I raise you up, you can go do this thing, which will alert them. And it's this big like Rube Goldberg.
They did some stuff like
Yeah.
they did some stuff like that a little bit too. That's what's great.
Yeah. So
I'd love to
guess,
see.
Just to finish up,
Yeah.
like I'm wanting them to get more adept at that. Of like they are actually
Yes.
now a team, and when they go on one day to the pros and they like 2 or 3 of them respond to some crisis or something, they'll be like, haha, it's you, we have a fastball special coming up, right? And
Yeah.
they like
Okay.
Exactly.
they have some
That's what I
special
want,
move
like
that
a-
only works
Yeah, because
with
then I was
that
going to ask Melissa, like,
combo.
is there anything specific you want out of season 2?
I would like to get to know this class a little bit better. I mentioned like I know there's more to Bakugo. Like I know like the show like has it planned and it's just waiting to show me that hand.
Yeah.
I want to get to know the other students better. I would like to have more context to like their everyday life at school. Like some of my favorite stuff in any X-Men story I encounter is the danger room.
Mhm.
Like I love just
Ah.
we're here to explore our powers, what they do, how we can learn to use them adeptly, and how we can learn to use them together. How can we team up? I'd like to see them talk to more of the other superheroes in the city. Like I mentioned, Mount Lady. There's a couple other people that we see. I'd like to get a sense of are those people all showed up at once? Do they just live in the immediate geographical area? Or how much are you friends and teammates with each other? Who are the other superheroes who these kids look up to? How do they want to emulate them? What are the next steps for them? I like it. And I like the show's focus on the kids and their powers. And it's not really gotten into like the politics of heroism yet, which is fine. I like this immediate focus on just how do I learn to use my body adeptly. And I think that
Right, yeah.
that and the high school setting do go hand in hand with each other.
See,
Yeah.
Melissa, you need to watch season 2. Season 2 does some of those things that you want it to do.
Okay, good. It seems like it would. Like this is a show that like I trust its storytelling. Like I think everything I want is something that it has, ready, just waiting. Like we're going to get there. Don't worry.
Mhm.
Yeah, season 2, and obviously after season 1 it gets longer because season 1's kind of that introduction. It does try to do too much in 13 episodes, where season 2 I believe is 25 episodes, so it has a lot more time to do more things with everything and everybody.
Good.
Yeah.
So yeah, we won't
Agreed.
mention it, but shout out to the small introduction to the League of Villains, because I know people love the League of Villains in My Hero. So Tomura Shigaraki covered in hands, kind of creepy, but I'm there.
So
Interesting
yeah, they have a lot of
design.
very
Yeah.
eerie villain designs.
to
I'm excited to see
draw.
more of those guys.
Yeah. So, we won't mention the League of Villains, but they also obviously we only saw like a couple of the really good villains, but the villains also they do a good job developing the villains as well.
Yeah. Cool.
So,
Good stuff,
and
good stuff.
that's My Hero. I'm glad you guys overall enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not think to
Indeed.
love My Hero as much as I do, but yeah, now I love it. And being on season 4, I'm gonna be sad when we're caught up and there's not more to watch right away.
Oh,
Oh well, I definitely know that feeling.
So
Many shows. So what we'd like to do next is recommendations. If you like My Hero Academia, what else might you like? I'll start with Melissa.
The clear one for me is the movie Sky High, which
Yep.
is, I think it's like a, it was produced by Disney or Nickelodeon, I forget. And it's written by the guys who did Kim Possible, I think. It was a live action movie from like 2005 about this kid whose parents are these amazing superheroes. They're like the Superman and Wonder Woman of this world. And he's going to this high school for kids with superpowers, but his hasn't developed yet. And his parents are like, "Oh, don't worry. I mean, look at us. Of course you're going to have a superpower. It hasn't kicked in yet. Don't worry. It'll show up."
Mm-hmm.
And it's about him realizing, how do I manage life in this superhero school when I don't have a power yet? And if I do get a power, I don't know what it's going to be. And because he doesn't have a power yet, he gets sorted into hero support class, which is just sidekicks.
Yep.
So there's rivalry between all these kids with these very clear, outstanding, great heroic powers. Like, I shoot fireballs, but he's in the class with like these misfit kids with weird powers. Like, I turn into a guinea pig. I glow in the dark.
I have these balls on the top of my head and I can throw them and they grow back. I don't know what they do, but they grow.
And you bleed. And you bleed.
Yeah. Sky is really fun. And this show also reminded me of The Tick. I think because it's got a similar sense of like, we have people with very silly powers or like very odd, funny consequences to their powers. Like one of the villains in last year we watched the Amazon Prime version of The Tick, and The Tick has been a comic. It's been a Saturday morning cartoon. There was the Patrick Warburton one from the early 2000s. We watched the Amazon Prime one last year, and like the villain of that is a character named Ms. Lint, and she's the super villainess with these like static electricity powers, but like she has some sort of a device that like grounds her, and that gets broken and she can't get it replaced. So the static electricity is now affecting her, and she's just covered in lint. And the entire season, things are sticking to her. She's giving herself a charge every time she touches something, and it's terrible. Yeah, I think this reminded me of The Tick because we have this bombastic, larger than life, very melodramatic superhero who looks like he has like antennas sticking out of his head, and then he's got this meek little apprentice who gets a superhero costume that looks like it has bunny ears. Like it's The Tick and Arthur again, but anime.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's tons of things that I think I can recommend with this. I think classic Chris Claremont X-Men of just this, like, it's a superhero school. It's a slice of life. It's who likes who has a crush on who, but let's also go explore our powers and how do we work together as a team to learn how to be actual superheroes. I think also with Kitty Pryde being the like in character, and she's just so wide-eyed and just like, I love being here and I love having powers and stuff like that, is a lot like Deku. I would also recommend Gotham Academy. That's a book I've recommended many a times here on the show. It's basically What If Harry Potter, but if it happened in Gotham City. So it's this school where kids can go. They don't all have powers and stuff, but it's that like creepy old school where you don't really know. Were the stairs there yesterday? I don't know. I don't remember them being there. And some of them have superpowers. There's some secrets that connect to Arkham Asylum and stuff like that. So I would recommend that as well. Last but not least, I would recommend, maybe for a more teen/adult audience, I would recommend Invincible. From Image Comics. This is by Robert Kirkman, same guy who created The Walking Dead. And it's his take on superheroes. And it's wonderful. It is bloody. It is a love it's a love letter to Marvel and DC, but then also has really, really interesting twists on all of that stuff, and also just leaves them behind in the dust, if not just straight up destroys them. And it's like, they have no rules. This is fun. It is bloody. It is violent. It is great. And I know they are making an Amazon Prime animated version of that as well, which I think is like out in a month something. So
wow,
that's what I would recommend. Alan.
Yeah.
This could be anything. You can.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't have anything specifically tied to My Hero Academia. And I don't watch a whole lot of TV or movies. So it can be anything. I wanted to throw something I wanted to throw something random out there for you. This is one of the earlier animes I watched in my second wave of anime. So this isn't like Dragon Ball Z era. This is like mid 2000s anime, like 2005. Sure. It is an anime, I believe, with only one season, and it's called Auron High School Host Club.
Host Club.
This
is one of the few animes I have seen in my adult life.
Yeah, I watched this too because I guess I was into this at one point, and I thought about reading the manga, but I never did. Just a rough thing that I pulled in the wiki. It follows a girl named Haruhi, a scholarship student at Auron High School, and the other members of the popular Host Club. The romantic comedy focuses on the relationships within and outside the club and satirizes the cliches and stereotypes that endure in shoujo manga. Pretty much, this girl goes to school. I believe she breaks an expensive vase or something, and she has to become a host, so they dress her up kind of like a boy, and all the other boys in the club just start having a crush on her, and it's as ridiculous as it sounds. At one point, twins fall for her. What? Yes. So yeah, I'd recommend that. I have other recommendations, but I might recommend those for the review show. But my number one favorite anime I love more than My Hero, watch or read JoJo's. Just watch or read JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. How bizarre is this adventure? You have to find out how bizarre could this adventure be.
Well, good. Those are some great recommendations. Next up, we are going to be pitching what we will do for this next week on the show. So,
what do I get?
Alan, you can just kind of sit back and relax for a second.
Kyle, I've been doing that this whole time.
There you go. Good stuff.
It's a chill day.
Keeping it real. So I don't have a theme or something like that. I just wanted to get a good grab bag of stuff that we could do for this next week. So pitch number one is something I've been interested in watching for a little while. I remember hearing about it when it first started to come out, but then it kind of fell off of my radar, I believe. Mm-hmm. So the first pitch I want to do is Primal. This is Genndy Tartakovsky's Primal, which is available on HBO Max. And it's set in an anachronistic and fantastical prehistoric like world. The premise is a bond between a caveman and a tyrannosaurus named Spear and Fang in the production notes and credits respectively, who struggle to survive as they encounter the various dangerous fauna and people that live in their world. If you are an animation nerd, I know you know the name Genndy Tartakovsky. He's behind such things like Samurai Jack and the original Star Wars Clone Wars cartoon, not the computer animated one, but he's done that. I think he did Dexter's Lab and stuff too. I think he like consulted on Powerpuff Girls. I know he didn't make it, but I think he was like he directed some episodes of it. Yeah, stuff like that. And then he's done some comics too. I've seen, but this is a show that I have not seen. I think it aired on Adult Swim back when it was coming out. So that's pitch number one, Primal.
How long is it? How many episodes?
10 episodes. Half an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pitch number two is a movie, Melissa, that you happened to mention on Friday, if I'm not mistaken. Pitch number two is The Devil All the Time. This is a Netflix original movie with Tom Holland, as well as, what's his name, who's going to be the next Batman, Robert Pattinson.
Oh, Robert Pattinson.
He's in this one as well. This is set in rural southern Ohio and West Virginia. The Devil All the Time follows a cast of compelling and bizarre characters from the end of World War II to the 1960s. There's Willard Russell, a tormented veteran of the carnage in the South Pacific who can't save his beautiful wife, Charlotte, from an agonizing death by cancer, no matter how much sacrificial blood he pours on his prayer log. There's Carl and Sandy Henderson, a husband and wife team of serial killers who troll America's highways, searching for suitable models to photograph and exterminate. There's the spider-handling preacher, Roy, and his crippled virtuoso guitar-playing sidekick, Theodore, running from the law. And caught in the middle of all of this is Arvin Eugene Russell, Willard and Charlotte's orphaned son, who grows up to be a good but also violent man in his own right. There you go. I don't really know much about this. I don't know how well this was received. I remember it coming out. I remember there being some meme about Robert Pattinson's very bad accent. But I think it'll be an interesting one.
Yes.
So that is pitch number 2, The Devil All the Time. Pitch number 3, however, is one that I think needs no introduction. This is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the IDW Collection, Volume 1. This is available on Comixology Unlimited. It collects 12 issues of the ongoing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle series from IDW, as well as the Raphael, Michelangelo, Donatello, Leonardo, and Splinter one-shots. So it's about 17 issues total, but it is the start of this book. It is not the original. However, it is the the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles co-creator Kevin Eastman and writer Tom Waltz guiding the readers through a groundbreaking new origin and into epic tales of courage, loyalty, and family. There you go. So one of the original creators is still involved in writing this newer take on.
When are these from?
This is from it says the hardcover came out in 2015. So probably like late 2014, early 2015 is when this was coming out.
Hardcovers are better anyways.
There you go. So, pitch number 1, Primal, available on HBO Max. Pitch number 2, The Devil All the Time, available on Netflix. And pitch number 3, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the IDW Collection, Volume 1, available on Comixology
These are
Unlimited.
Interesting pitches. I feel like I'd pick all of these at a different time if you catch me on the right week.
There you go.
I think because we've just finished a TV series, and then the week after this, we're going to be going back to *Halt and Catch Fire* for season 3.
True.
So I think just in the interest of time and not like watching a bunch of TV episodes or reading a bunch of comic chapters again, I'm going to take it easy with The Devil All the Time. I feel like pacing wise, I could do with a week where I just watch a movie.
There you go. Sounds good to me. I'm excited for that one. Alan, if you had to pick, what one would you have picked of those 3?
What is Alan's
Primal,
choice?
The Devil All the Time, or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Well, I definitely was. I was not feeling Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I feel like I'm gonna have to give it to Primal.
Okay.
Primal was very tempting. Good. I just didn't want to watch so much TV in such a concentrated
No, I know.
time.
That's what I was like. I mean, because I looked at it and I was like, oh, Primal episode's 10. I was like, I could do that.
Yeah. Not that bad. So that is what we will be up to this next week. We will be watching The Devil All the Time. Once again, that's available on Netflix for next week. And like Melissa mentioned, the week after that, we will be returning to Halt and Catch Fire to discuss season 3 as we continue our end of the month coverage on that. We do our special end of the month. Let's watch one big long series and do all of that stuff. So I do have to give a shout out, or I guess well wishes. It was a couple of days ago, I think, that Chris Cantwell found out that his wife now has COVID, and he is baffled that he does not have it, and his kids don't have it. They all tested negative, but the same thing happened to my parents. My mom got it, but my dad never did. So
what was this?
Strange. This was over winter break. Stuff like that. I thought I mentioned it on
I don't think so. I'm secondhand very concerned about the well-being of your parents, whom I've never met.
Yeah, so hopefully she has a quick recovery and everything is okay with that. So there you go.
It's okay. I made a really solid tweet on Twitter, so I feel good about it.
Well, there you go. Okay. Alan, thank you for joining us this week on the show.
Thank you.
You are welcome back anytime you'd like to join.
Yeah.
And as well on the Captain's Log too. So hopefully we'll be seeing some more of you on those shows as well. But where can the people find you?
You can, I just said it. You could actually follow me at Alan Busbee at Twitter, and you can see if my new tweets right up your alley. You know, everyone's posting those $1,400 stimulus check memes, so I decided to do my own take on it. So, you know, you can follow me there and see some probably subpar content over there, or you can watch me at Twitch at twitch.tv/SURPKK, where I play games and I try not to die. Where I don't die.
Good stuff. And Melissa, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT. And you can listen to my other podcast, Saturday Morning Obscurities, where me and my brother Jams talk about weird old kids shows you feel like only you remember. Our most recent episode, I think, was Cubics, Robots for Everyone.
Good stuff.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Well, only you remember that, Alan.
I remember those.
There you go. That's good. You guys can find me at Yo Kyle Springer on Twitter. And if you guys want to stay up to date with all of the shows we do here at The Whatnots, we are at The Whatnots on Twitter. So go like, share, and subscribe, and go do all of that stuff. Go leave a nice review if you have some kind words to say. We could use some ratings and reviews wherever you get your podcasts. That would help us out a ton. But with that, we will be back next week for The Devil All the Time. This has been number 148 of the Whatnots Review Show. We will see you all next week.
Say it.
Bye.
Say it. No, say it.
Plus
say it.
Ultra!
Plus Ultra!
Plus Ultra!